The first word shattered the room. Mama. The fork froze halfway to Lorenzo Moretti's mouth. Conversations died mid-sentence. Across the white linen table, his 2-year-old daughter, silent since birth, was pointing past him, past the guards, past the power, straight at a trembling waitress clutching a water pitcher. Say it again, Lorenzo said quietly, his voice tight with something close to fear. Mama, the child cried louder, reaching out. The waitress stepped back. I'm sorry, sir. I don't know her. Her voice shook. Her hands did not. But her chest burned with a pain she had buried 2 years ago in a cold hospital room, the day a doctor told her her baby was dead. Lorenzo stood. Chairs scrape. His shadow fell over her. My daughter doesn't speak, he said. She has never spoken. His eyes searched the waitress's face, not with anger yet, but with calculation. So explain to me why she just called you her mother. The room knew what that question meant. In Lorenzo Moretti's world, mistakes ended lives. Secrets didn't stay hidden. And no one, especially a waitress from Queens, walked away once his child chose them. Because when a mute child finds her voice, it's never an accident. And when she chooses you, it means the past is about to come back alive. Subscribe now to Canada's Heartfelt Tales. This story doesn't slow down, and neither should you. The crystal chandelier above the private dining room trembled, just slightly, as if it understood the silence now swallowing the gilded lily. Lorenzo Moretti's fingertips rested on the tablecloth, motionless, but the tension rolling off him felt like a storm searching for lightning. Across from him, Rose Vance couldn't get her breath steady. She didn't know whether to step forward, step back, or disappear entirely. But Mia didn't hesitate. The little girl twisted in her high chair, arms outstretched, voice cracking through 2 years of silence. Mama, up. Lorenzo swallowed hard. She never says anything to anyone, he muttered. And now this. Rose shook her head. Sir, I don't know her. I swear I. Mia's voice trembled. Mama, please. That single word bent the air between them. Rose set her tray down. Her hands were trembling now. Not from Lorenzo, not from fear, but from a memory she'd spent 2 years trying to bury. Clinic. A doctor's voice. A baby she was told she'd never hold. Before she could say anything else, Lorenzo stood. We're leaving, he said sharply, signaling to his security. Give me the child. But Mia turned away from him, burying her face toward Rose instead. For the first time in his life, Lorenzo Moretti looked genuinely lost. Why her? He demanded. Why now? Rose's voice cracked. I don't know. I don't. But she did know. Somewhere deep beneath the fear, something inside her was waking up. A guard opened the back door to a waiting SUV. Lorenzo turned to Rose, his tone lower, colder. You're coming with us. What? I can't just go with strangers. You aren't a stranger anymore, Lorenzo replied. Not to her. The decision wasn't a request. And when Mia reached for Rose again, sobbing into her little hands, Rose followed, because walking away this time felt impossible. The estate was sprawling and quiet, lit by soft lamps that did nothing to warm the vast marble halls. Rose's footsteps echoed behind Lorenzo's decisive stride. He carried Mia with surprising gentleness, even as the girl kept twisting toward Rose's direction. Inside his private library, Lorenzo finally spoke. Sit. I'm not, Rose began. You want answers. So do I. He gestured at Mia. She spoke her first word tonight, and she chose you. Rose sat. Mia wriggled from Lorenzo's arms, toddling unsteadily toward Rose. She crawled into her lap, like a child returning to something she'd been searching for. Lorenzo watched, jaw clenched. This shouldn't be possible. Rose brushed her hand through Mia's curls. I'm sorry if this scares you, but this scares me too. He studied her face a moment longer, then exhaled. I need to understand what connects you to my daughter. And to my late wife. Your wife, Rose whispered. A pulse of dread hit her chest. She was the mother. So I was told, Lorenzo said. But tonight, everything feels wrong. Rose's throat tightened. She hadn't said the date out loud in years. October 14th. The day the clinic said her baby died. The day she signed forms through tears she barely remembered reading. The same day Rose now realized Mia had been born. Tell me about the clinic, Lorenzo said softly. And for the first time since it happened, Rose did. She told him about the surrogacy, the money she desperately needed for her father's surgery, the cold doctor who never looked her in the eye, the sedatives, the grief. She told him about the moment she woke up to the words stillborn, and how the world had broken inside her. Lorenzo listened in utter stillness. When she finished, he didn't speak right away. Instead, he pulled up a photo on his phone, a picture of Mia laughing taken sometime months ago. He turned the screen toward Rose. Look. Her breath caught. On Mia's tiny shoulder was a strawberry-shaped birthmark. Rose's vision blurred. I saw that, she whispered. I saw that on the baby they wouldn't let me hold. Mia reached up then, pressing her hand against Rose's cheek. It wasn't just comfort. It was recognition. Lorenzo whispered, My God. Mia wasn't pointing at a stranger. She was pointing home. Hours later, a DNA analysis kit lay on Lorenzo's desk. The private technician worked in the basement lab while Lorenzo paced the length of the library, unable to sit, unable to look away from Rose and Mia curled together on the sofa. If this is true, he said quietly, someone lied to us both. Rose swallowed. Who would do that? I have suspects, Lorenzo muttered. But I need confirmation. Mia dozed softly in Rose's arms, her tiny breaths steady and warm. Rose brushed Mia's hair back from her forehead, overwhelmed by all the moments she'd missed. A soft chime echoed through the library. Lorenzo snatched up the intercom. Yes. The technician's voice came through, shaky, unsure. Sir, the test was repeated 3 times. The woman is the biological mother. Something inside Rose finally unlocked. Guilt, grief, hope, all folding together. Tears slid down her face. Thank you, she whispered to no one and everyone at once. But Lorenzo didn't move toward her. He didn't rush to celebrate. He stood perfectly still, as if the truth had struck him like a physical blow. My uncle, he said under his breath. He's the only one who had access. The only one who would have benefited. Benefited from what? Rose asked. Making sure I believed Mia was legitimate, he said. Making sure she existed, so he could manipulate the future she represents. Rose frowned. That doesn't make sense. It will, Lorenzo replied. But not tonight. He looked toward the window, the ocean reflecting in his eyes. There will be consequences for what was done, he said. And the man responsible won't escape them. The next day dawned gray and heavy. Rose expected to be escorted out or questioned again, or at least kept at a distance. Instead, she found Lorenzo in the nursery, quietly building blocks with Mia. When he noticed her at the door, he stood. There's something you must understand, he said. Now that we know the truth, you're in danger. Whoever orchestrated this, my uncle, the clinic, they won't want you speaking. Rose crossed her arms, steadying herself. I'm not leaving Mia again. I didn't expect you to, Lorenzo said. He paused, then opened a small velvet box. Inside was a ring, but he didn't hand it to her. This isn't romance, he said plainly. This is protection. My uncle can't touch the mother of my heir if she stands beside me publicly. Rose stared at him. You want us to pretend. I want you alive, Lorenzo cut in. No, Rose whispered. I want justice. Lorenzo nodded slowly. Then justice is what we'll take. That evening they attended a charity gala. Lorenzo's uncle, Salvio, would be there. The air buzzed with whispers as soon as they entered, every eye tracing Rose beside him. She kept her chin high just like he taught her. Salvio approached with calculated charm. Nephew, he said, then turned to Rose. And this must be the new fiancé. How quickly the world changes. Rose offered a polite smile. Some changes arrive right on time. Salvio blinked. Just once. Then his smile returned, thinner. Lorenzo said nothing. He simply watched. As the orchestra swelled, Salvio leaned closer, voice dipped dangerously low. You should be careful, my dear. Stepping into shoes that weren't meant for you. Rose met his gaze. Strange, she replied softly. That's exactly what someone told me 2 years ago. A doctor who claimed a child wasn't mine. Salvio stiffened. A hairline crack in his confidence. And Lorenzo saw it. Later, outside under the golden hotel lights, federal officers approached. Not loudly. Not dramatically. Just firm, decisive steps. Mr. Salvio Moretti, please come with us. You're under investigation for medical fraud, falsification of records, and interference in parental rights. Salvio's face drained of color as agents closed in. You set me up, he hissed at Lorenzo. No, Lorenzo replied coldly. You set yourself up the moment you stole a child's life because you couldn't earn your own. Rose watched as Salvio was escorted to a waiting car, wrists bound, not violently but definitively. The law, not a gun, sealed his fate. As the door shut behind him, Mia tugged at Rose's dress from where she stood with a nanny nearby. Mama, she asked softly. Rose knelt, pulling her daughter into her arms. I'm here, she whispered. I'm not going anywhere. Lorenzo stepped beside them. He wasn't smiling, but the weight in his eyes had lifted. Salvio will spend the rest of his life answering for what he did, he said. And Mia, she'll grow up knowing the truth. Rose looked up at him, her voice steady. What happens next? Lorenzo glanced at Mia, who was already babbling happily into Rose's shoulder. What happens next, he said, is whatever keeps her safe. But somewhere behind his words was something else, something unspoken but unmistakable. Beginning. The night Salvio was taken away, the estate finally felt still. Not quiet, just still, like a place that had been holding its breath for far too long. Rose stood by the window with Mia curled against her shoulder, watching the last patrol car disappear down the driveway. For the first time, she wasn't wondering what had been stolen from her. She was realizing what she had taken back. Lorenzo joined her without a word. He didn't look like the man she first met in that restaurant, the one wrapped in control and sharp edges. Something in him had shifted, softened, as if the truth had carved out space for a different version of himself. She's safe now, he said quietly. Rose nodded. And so are we. It wasn't a victory cry. It wasn't triumph. It was something steadier, an acceptance that survival wasn't luck but choice. She'd stepped into a world built on shadows, yet somehow found a path lit by honesty, by connection, by the fragile courage of a little girl who spoke one word and changed everything. Mia reached for the glass, her hand leaving a small print on the window. The sun was rising, soft gold spilling across the lawn, chasing away the last of the night. Rose whispered, "She finally has a future." "And so do you," Lorenzo answered. Not a promise, a recognition. The house behind them hummed with new beginnings, no longer a place of secrets but of rebuilding. And as the light climbed higher, Rose understood that truth hadn't ruined their lives. It had rebuilt them from the ground up. If this story moved you, please like, share, and help Canada's Heartfelt Tales grow by subscribing. Your support keeps these stories alive.